Every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Win a brand new ride for Christmas in a 3-car raffle organized on behalf of Queens Royal College. First prize is a luxurious, fully loaded Royal Ride Ford Ranger. Draw date Saturday, December 20th at the school. Tickets only $100. All proceeds for the further uplifting of the school. Tickets available from teachers, parents, alumni, and of the school. Also at islandetickets.com. Mart Liquor Palace, Diego Martin Main Road. GN Food Center, Siparia. Uncle Beto, Santa Cruz. Better Deal Supermarket, Cunupia and Aranguez. Cans Liquor, Diego Martin Main Road. Ramsing Sports, Chaguanas and Cuba. Bobby's Bar, Curette. Mirage Supermarket, Sangre Grande. West B Supermarket, Diego Martin and Tacarigua.
John's Supermarket, Upper Bonds Road.
Payless Hardware, Diego Martin Main Road. Dodge Roti, Pitti Valley. Mirage Westside Arima. Western Pharmacy next to St. James Police. For more info, call the college at 622-1671 or the hotline at 491-1802. Queens Royal College, 3-car raffle.
WESN.
Good morning and welcome to AM Prime on WESN. I'm Naomi Magnish. So this morning we are getting into the fireworks regulation bill. This is a bill that has been welcomed as a step forward in addressing noise pollution and public health concerns. But advocacy group Citizens Against Noise Pollution of Trinidad and Tobago says the legislation still falls short of fully protecting citizens, especially in residential communities. Joining me this morning is Tamara Chata, the Vice President for Public Relations and External Affairs at ICNTT, to explain what the group supports, what's missing, and what meaningful enforcement should look like moving forward. Good morning, Tamara.
Good morning. Morning. How are you doing? Thanks for having us. So while we welcome the passage of fireworks legislation, because this is the most attention we've had to this for so many years, and I would say decades, and unregulated use has really caused so much damage to our communities. You know, far too long citizens have been exposed to this, causing fear and injury, trauma, distress for children and animals, the elderly, children with autism, you know, and regulation just is long overdue. However, we are concerned how it protects people in residential areas, because that is where most of the concern, other than hospitals and animal sanctuaries, those are most where we get most of the complaints.
Right.
And just with reference to that a baby died from, they say they can't prove that is what caused it, but pediatricians did say that it could have, the fireworks could have caused a cardiac event in this child. Mm-hmm. Now, when you have, and I understand the government is trying to appease all stakeholders, but you still have over an hour use, and who is actually going to monitor that That's our concern. We want to see how this is going to be enforced because, however, while this addresses one aspect of excessive noise, it doesn't solve the wider and more persistent issue of noise pollution as a whole in residential communities because that has not been, enforced, those laws in the past. And so although we're hopeful, we are looking and observing when, let's say, the 31st of December does come around, what is going to happen, because you do expect if the office of the president puts a law, lays a law into the land that, we as a people would obey these laws. But we have seen where it has run wild for so many years. And for all types of pollution, for instance, we do have laws against dumping of litter. We do have environmental laws, but people break those laws consistently because those laws are not enforced. If we ask for the data about the ticketing, who gets a ticket from that? They don't have that real-time data. And I would like for when this comes, these days, these holidays that we're allowed to use the fireworks, that we would like to see the data on, how many people were charged, what were they using, because scratch bombs have been illegal for years, and they were it was excessive in the last few years, the use of it. They throw it into your yards, they throw it at your animals, they throw it, and it causes so much damage. So we are still worried because although you're appeasing and you cut any time of use, in that time, it still can trigger cardiac events. It still will disturb animals. You're still going to drive down the road the next day and see carcasses of animals in that time. So at least we know that we could prepare within that time, but you are going to find people that are going to do that out of the times. And I would like to see what authorities are going to do.
Yeah. So let's look at, the bill as we agree that the bill is progress or a step in the right direction.
Of course.
Making a difference or change. But so what does the legislation itself get right in your view?
Let me tell you, and because of the years of advocacy that we have and how much we've been pushing, what they get right and all-encompassing is to even pay attention and to have a bill. I have to say it like that. What they get right is focus on hospitals, focus on animal sanctuaries, that they are actually drawing attention to this, that this is a real-world problem. We have to stop the chaos in this country because this has been chaos, the unregulated use. So the fact that they are regulating it, the fact that they are going to make it a chargeable offense, that is what they get right. And noise pollution as a whole, we have put forward suggestions when they do address the larger scale issue of noise pollution, that it becomes a ticketable offense.
Mentioned that one of the major concerns is residential protection, residential areas.
Yes.
Why do you think that the home is such a critical space that you believe needs clearer legal safeguarding?
Well, the thing is, nobody should have to be disturbed in their own homes, especially noise that is torturous, noise that is constant, noise that your heart jumps, noise that a senior citizen, if they have a pacemaker, or they have high blood pressure, that your basic human right is to lay your head within your four walls and have a rest to recover, to go to work the next day. That is a basic human right. And people like to talk about, we love to talk about culture, and we are not against culture. But culture is a choice to be a part of. When you're talking about a fete, you pay money, you get a ticket, you go to a fete, that is a choice. It is not my choice or thousands of people's choice in this country to be assaulted inside your home with this level of noise. This is such a public health crisis, and we're not speaking to the doctors. Ever so often, you're going to see a little article in a newspaper hidden pop up from a doctor that says something about it. But we're really not getting to the root cause of all of this health. This is your health, this is your mental health, this is your physical health. And that is my human right. And the air that God has given us to breathe should not be polluted by something like this that I did not choose to be a part of.
What have you seen? What kinds of medical or psychological effects have you seen come up concerning the noise and the fireworks?
What is most disturbing, and I'll tell you, the most vulnerable in our society. So we're talking about our elderly and we're talking about our children, our autistic children. Where it is an auditory issue for children that are triggered when they hear this level of noise. We have seen videos of people that have sent in of their children rocking back, holding their ears. We have actually seen. There was a young mother who just had a baby. So this is a newborn. She has showed us pictures. There was an auto shop next to her. Now, an auto shop should not be abusing the neighbors with noise, but it was such a terrible issue they had to pick up and move. And this baby was holding, his ears. It was just so terrible to see a newborn struggling with this issue. And then you have the elderly. You have the elderly that cannot even say anything. And you are hearing, people don't even talk about the frequency and the science of how bass affects. You can't hide from that. That's a different frequency that vibrates within inside of you. Your walls vibrate. There are times where people sit down just to recover on a weekend from a hard week's work, and you're turning on your television. You cannot watch television to unwind, to get to sleep, much less get to sleep on these bars. And neighbors, you would expect some level of empathy, but they go for hours and hours and hours, sometimes till 6 a.m. There's absolutely no control. And people are talking about, and you see in the comments, where we just want to ticket everything, where we want to kill everything. But there's no reason why you are within a bar or an establishment or an event that you have to hear music next door. If you put an establishment next to a bar, next to if there is a home right next to a bar, why should I hear that? Why should that even be allowed, firstly? But if you leave the bar and you walk outside and you plainly hear music, that is absolutely wrong. And we have gotten away with that is how things are in Trinidad and Tobago at all times. But you have this any day, any time thing where you would see this sign where they can play music any day, any time. That is absolutely ridiculous next to homes.
Yeah. Now, if we can get into, I know we touched on it a bit, the enforcement, and that is something that you have been, that you are concerned about.
Yes.
Now, the bill outlines permits and restricted zones, but of course, enforcement remains that long-standing issue, whether it would be properly enforced or not, right? So what about it worries you the most about how the law could be enforced or not enforced?
Well, we did put if it is plainly audible, an officer of the law needs to be empowered enough to say, you have just broken the law because, number one, if you're talking about fireworks specifically, they are now empowered to go listen and ticket and charge someone for this use, right? But with regards to noise, the police are not equipped with decibel meters to measure the decibel of the noise. But there's so much red tape because there's a specific meter that they want them to use, and just the calibration of that decibel meter. One company in Trinidad does it, and it's up to $15,000. How do we arm each officer to do something like that? Number one, so it's going to cost so much money. But the plainly audible clause, and a lot of people are against that suggestion because they are saying that officers could abuse their authority. And if they don't like you, they could charge you and that kind of thing. But that is an infrastructural issue that the TTPS needs to deal with themselves, which is a separate issue from what we are dealing with. But the audible clause, the plainly audible clause, it works in many, many other countries, Texas, Florida, California. So it allows an officer to say, listen, this is, above normal, and to ticket you. And we certainly believe that if you make this a ticketable offense, it's going to be, it's going to help with the regulation and deter people if they are ticketed.
So do you think that is what, that is what effective enforcement would look like for this, for citizens, especially all citizens on the ground, if it becomes a ticketable offense?
Well, right now, even when you see the fine that they charge, it's like $1,500 for this, even if they do decide to charge you with noise pollution. But if let's say a bar gets ticketed $1,500, I mean, how does that really impact and deter them from breaking the law? So we need stiffer penalties for this. So for instance, a person will come and call about the noise from a neighbor or bar, and the police will come and just warn them. And the minute the police goes away, the music is up again. And it is certainly a lack of respect for the law in this country, all over. And I really feel that, people are struggling in our economy, but if you are breaking the law with all those struggles, you have to feel it in your pocket.
Yeah. The thing is, when I looked at what people were saying, what the public was saying about it, many people were concerned and worried that if this law is enforced fully, then it kind of dims their celebration. They're trying to quiet everybody at a certain hour.
I do think that is a whole lack of sensitivity to the issue. It's a complete lack of education around noise in general in this country and what it really does. There's a huge part of our community that would just like peace in your own house and doesn't, they don't go anywhere. We're not asking to walk down the road and not be, not hear noise. We're just asking for safety in our own homes. And which is supposed to be simple, which is supposed to be your basic human right if you go to work every day. And unlike open venues, residential communities are a place of rest. And people didn't choose to live next to an explosive event. And sound will travel through walls. And many people are not able to partake in these supposed festivities because they are at home with their pets or their autistic children or their elderly parents to soothe them while this is going on. You drug your pets, you lock up your pets, and sometimes that's not enough. You have to be there with them and your children and your elderly parents or grandparents. And why is that fair? Why do you get to enjoy your hurt? You're hurting people at the end of the day, and enjoyment should never come at the cost of harming people in their own homes. And we support restricting public access, and there's a lot of low noise fireworks. You have the fun stops, you have the F1 they call it type of fireworks that. They're sparklers, they're ground spinners, they're crackle-free novelty fireworks, and we would prefer those things, yeah. But instead, it's like a war zone, I mean, I know my area, it was certainly a war zone, and it went on for hours and hours. And it didn't just go on for the night of Diwali. It went on for a good couple of weeks because people had left over, or just they just think this is fun. So people could not plan for an event. At least this legislation, they can plan for that hour and a half. But in that hour and a half, or it could still cause a lot of damage, you know. So the attention to this, yes,
No, but
go ahead.
how can we, find the right balance between, the health concerns and being sensitive towards, the vulnerable groups in our society, and then also, sticking with cultural traditions and enjoyment and celebration and community even?
Well, I think it all boils down to empathy, really. I think it's the level of empathy people have. Even, for instance, and I'll tell you, this ban on fets at national sporting, places, it didn't come across, it didn't just, the Prime Minister, I am sure, did not snap her fingers and just make that decision just like that. We have had, I'm telling you, thousands and thousands of reports for many, many years. And we have begged Fed Promoters Association, we have spoken about it publicly, and even the communities have written letters to these establishments and have gotten nowhere for many, many years. And now you're hearing all of this crying about non-negotiation and as though it was some draconian move all of a sudden. And the truth is it was not. That is being absolutely dishonest. We have had so many people suffering for so many years. So, and you're asking for compensation too. And if we were, and I keep saying that, if we were to put a dollar value on the suffering and the lack of productivity and the time off people had to take after, they have not slept all weekend and they had to get up and go to work on a Monday morning. I mean, could you imagine what that compensation would be for people and their medical bills and that kind of thing? I find it so unfair, to not consider that level of economic loss, because we have lost a lot of hours, a lot of money, and if we were to quantify that, it would be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right. So are you calling for the bill to be amended in that there should be no allotted time for any sort of loud fireworks?
Well, I'll tell you, we are for the progress that this is making, because it is 100%, I mean, none, just having this little bit is, we appreciate it. We absolutely do not want to come off as being ungrateful, but we will test it. We are looking, we are observing, and let us see what is going to happen after this night. Let us see, because we want to help the TTPS in what can we do to help them to, sensitize the public about this use and making sure the laws are followed. We're going to advise our listeners, our members, and we're hoping to work with the government and with the TTPS, because we're not going to get anywhere if we don't work together. So let's see. We are hopeful, but we will be looking at how this is going to be enforced on the 31st of December.
Yeah. Now, finally,
yes.
Go ahead.
No, it's just, again, we absolutely love Trinidad and Tobago, and it should not ever be seen where we are a group that are against what Trinidad and Tobago is famous for, and that kind. But Trinidad and Tobago cannot be famous for damage and noise pollution and hurt of its citizens. That's not what we're about. We're a Caribbean country. We love each other. I mean, I love my country, which is why we are working towards making this just a better place for us and our children to enjoy tomorrow.
And it's definitely important for communities to be fair. And if it's the hour or hour and a half that you get to make the noise and to celebrate how you'd like, then
just be responsible.
And stick to the hour.
It's a personal. We all must hone some level of personal responsibility.
Yes.
There also must be some level of corporate social responsibility. Yeah. The business community, we have to be honest with ourselves. What have we been doing to people inside their own homes? Because we're not asking for much. We're asking for peace within our own home.
Mm-hmm. Now, what message would you like to leave or send to citizens, as we, it's the Christmas season, both persons who tend to feel helpless during all the noise, as well as, persons who are doing the noise making?
Well, I hope you start listening. I hope the people that are doing the listening, doing the noise making, are just listening with some, and stop painting people that are talking about noises, crazy cat ladies. I like to say that because they sort of paint us with a broad brush as though we are infringing on fun. But just be responsible, because that child that has a learning disability and autistic, or that old person that lost their husband, or just that person that worked really hard, a single mother that worked a shift last night, just be a little sensitive to them, and to the greater population that are noise sufferers. I do believe the government, and I know that the government is coming to implement legislation. They have been consulting us. The TTPS, we have been in conversations with them all year, and I know that proper noise pollution regulations are coming. We are hopeful that it would come before the end of the year, but we remain hopeful, so we could start enjoying our residential areas a little better come January 2026.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Tamara, for coming on the program this morning and chatting with me about this. And I really want to see just that progress continue to happen, especially leading into the new year, and then all other holiday celebrations after that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course.
Take care.
Bye-bye. All right, so we're going to take a quick break now. Stay with me, and we will be right back.
Win a great car raffle organized on behalf of Queen's Royal College. You have a chance of winning a luxurious Royal Ride Ford Ranger. Draw a date Saturday, December 20th at the school. Tickets only $100. All proceeds for the further uplifting of the school. Tickets available at islandetickets.com. Lewis Appliances, corner Tragrid Road and Edward Street. Caribbean Jewelers, Trinity Mall. Mandarin Mini Mart St. Anne's. A. Moses and Sons, 181 Tragrid Road. Quase Supermarket, Calcutta Road Number 2. Strive Restaurant and Bar, Mukarapa Road. New Car and Auto Shop, West Mall. First Priority Music, Gulf City Mall. SNSR Food Center, Princesstown. Quase Best Price, St. Mary's Junction. Roaming's Hardware, Marabal. Cascade Minimart. Kelly Supermarket, Digger Mountain Main Road. The Unit Trust Agency in West Mall. For more info, call the college at 622-1671 or the hotline at 491-1802. Queen's Royal College Christmas 3-car raffle.
It's Christmas time, and with your family you'll spend every evening watching a movie on WESN. The classics that fill your heart with merriment and cheer as we celebrate together the most wonderful time of the year.
This is my island in the sun.
This Christmas, WESN celebrates with you as the content capital brings the big screen classics. Gather your family and tune in to WESN from December 1st to 31st at 8 p.m. nightly for We Christmas Movie Classics.
Santa's coming to town! Ah! Oh my God! Santa here? I know him! I know him!
Only on WESN, Content Capital.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up, Doc isn't just a title, it's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
Remember waking up early just to catch your favorite cartoons? WESN brings back those magical mornings with Retro Saturdays.
Thus, the Powerpuff Girls were born!
Where the young at heart relive the fun. Join us every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, only on WESN, the content capital.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of this game.
no.
Let's go to the last part.
Also, where Trinidad and Tobago and the wider Caribbean stand in terms of preparedness, accountability, and meaningful climate action. So joining me this morning for this conversation is Chandel O'Neill, an energy engineer, human rights advocate, and Caribbean regional member with the Youth Climate Justice Fund. Good morning, Chandel. Welcome to AM Prime.
Good morning. Thank you. Hi.
How are you this morning?
I'm okay, a little bit tired because negotiations run late, so you end up staying at the venue a little late, but yeah, okay.
So we'll get into a lot more about what I know the COP30, that is something ongoing currently, but we'll get into that. But first, to ground our viewers, what exactly does it mean when we say the world is nearing its climate tipping point. Put it in simple terms.
All right. In 2015, parties, which are countries, signed the Paris Agreement, and in that they had an agreement to champion 1.5 degrees as the threshold, and 1.5 degrees is in relation to pre-industrial levels. So the claim was to keep global surface temperatures within 1.5 degrees, and right now we're kind of around that tipping point around the 1.5 degrees, and it should be noted it started in 2024 and it cannot be measured in 1 year. It's measured over a period of years, but it's kind of showing like once you start with 1 year, we don't necessarily go back down. So in terms of the climate tipping point, in terms of temperature, that's what that means. 1.5 to stay alive.
Why is that 1.5 so like a critical danger zone globally, and especially for smaller nations like us in the Caribbean?
Okay, it should be noted again, 1.5 to stay alive started with SIDS in 2008 before the Paris Agreement, and it got included because of SIDS advocacy. And again, 1.5 was somewhat arbitrary because we've seen how every fraction of a degree in warming is having detrimental impacts on our communities and our livelihoods, especially in Caribbean, which is a small island developing state region. And from that, the 1.5 to stay alive is kind of arbitrary in terms of a limit, but we're seeing how that limit we set is very, very important because we're dealing with more severe weather consequences. We saw recently Hurricane Melissa that basically charged up in the warm Caribbean Sea and went straight to Jamaica, and we saw the devastation and destruction that caused.
So when we talk about impacts that these tipping points can have, or what are some of the signs that would suggest that us here in the Caribbean are already experiencing these climate tipping point related impacts?
Yeah, we experience it. I know, like, I don't know if people take it on as much, but we know our days are hotter. We know we're supposed to have a dry season and a wet season, and we know those two seasons have gotten very confusing and very compromised. Like, you have, and not even so, sometimes when we do have rain, it becomes what we call rain bombs, where it's just the volume of water that falls isn't what our infrastructure can support, because historically it hasn't had to support that. So in terms of these tipping points, you'll see what is like the occurrence of what is supposed to be like a 1 in 100-year storms happening like 1 every 10 years, and our region cannot compound because our GDP and the debt that we get from these instances, we can't recover like that. So it's essentially more compounding crises happening very closely together, and our ability to adapt and us experiencing more and more loss and damage just increases.
When we speak about climate justice, what exactly is that? And let's take it from a Caribbean perspective.
Okay. That is like, okay, our like farmers having more difficulty planning for crops and stuff. Like, I know some islands we don't necessarily have the most food grown, but it's things like that. Like when your fields get flooded out because you wasn't expecting that much rain, or when your crops don't grow because because you're experiencing a drought and they're not getting rain. So the seasons where you can't plant for growing fruits and everything, and that is an impact. We also see it with our fisheries and how they are impacted. Like you're seeing more and more like sargassum blooms, and you're seeing more and more like ocean acidification, and these things affect the fisheries. These things affect the bounties. So from that, you'd see our fisher folks having to go out further to catch the same amount of fish they used to get closer to shore, and because of that, they'd have to spend more money on fuel, and they'd have to take more risk going out further. And sometimes, again, we're talking about different weather patterns. So if you're going out, sometimes it's in harsher conditions because you have to meet your livelihood, but you don't realize that your livelihood is getting harder every day. I think, yeah.
I know climate change and these issues affect nations globally, but is it something that we can safely say that the Caribbean is most vulnerable? Or is it even?
Yes, no, we are a small island developing state. We're established as vulnerable. Like even this year, when countries are supposed to be submitting new NDCs, because we are in the category of vulnerable, and have special circumstances, we are allowed to have a little extra time when we're trying to submit it. So yes, Trinidad and Tobago around the Caribbean is vulnerable.
From your experience and observation, are Caribbean youth voices respected and supported in these global spaces, in these global forums?
It depends on the forum, but I will say, like, sometimes nationally and regionally, we don't respect our own youth as much as we should, but then we go to international and global spaces and we are respected. And I think that speaks to sometimes our brain drain and our conservative society that has a certain niche and certain preferences to, like, listening to the elders or having a certain amount of experience or treating youth like a little toy. But I would say our voices aren't respected enough nationally and regionally, but at least internationally and globally, they know they want to hear what we have to say.
Right. So I want to now go to the COP30 and what does that mean for, in history right now with this, when it comes to the 1.5 degrees, 1.5 to stay alive, that whole theme, let's talk about this conference.
Okay. Well, okay, COP, we call it COP. Like, okay, COP started from like 1992. There was a meeting with the people from environmental, the science people, everybody got together. They figured out the planet was warming. So from that, they developed the Kyoto Protocol, which basically kind of established the UNFCCC, which is the United Nations Frameworks Climate Change Convention, and that is specifically like the UN part of it for tackling climate change issues. And because we're at COP30, that means because COP is an annual thing, so it's been happening every year. So for 30 years, countries have been meeting to discuss this, and well, we can see how much progress they've been making. But it happens, how it goes is that every year they meet in Germany to have the intersessional /SBs, and that's where they set the agenda for the COP of that year. And the COP of that year happens in different cities and different places, and from that you end up with like a decision text, and wherever it happens that year, you would call it that city name. So when the Paris Agreement happened in France, Paris, they called it the Paris Agreement. So that kind of stuff. So we're at COP30 now in Belém because they've had, except for when there was COVID, every year they meet to discuss the climate along different tracks and different negotiations, and parties meet what is now obligations in terms of what they would do to tackle the climate issue.
Right. Are you able to give us some insight as to what are the conversations happening at COP currently? What are some of the agreements or possible solutions to what's happening?
Okay. All right. Well, one of the tracks I specifically follow is called the Just Transition Work Program, which is how we move our fossil fuel-based economies to more sustainable, low-carbon emissions economies. And in that, they're recommending what we would call the Belém Action Mechanism, because again, we're in Belém in Brazil, so you name it after the city, and that is the mechanism for how you would implement the Just Transition Work Program, like what parties and countries would need to do. And right now they're discussing like common but differentiated responsibilities. That's a big one. And like another issue coming up is like the critical minerals and how you develop renewable technology. So right now they're negotiating all these things out, and they're figuring out a document that parties will agree to, hopefully. And from that, hopefully we will end up with a Belém action mechanism for how we will work on actually phasing out fossil fuels.
Right. When we look at the success, or we want to measure the success or failure of a conference like COP, right? Is it agreements, coming to agreements? Is it funding access, or implementation? Is it something else? How do you measure the success?
It could be measured differently. Like last year at COP in Baku, the target was $1.3 trillion. We end up getting 300 billion, which some would say was not a fail, but it wasn't a win. You know, when you're asking for trillions and you get billions, you know it's not the same. So in terms of these conferences, you could end up sometimes with text just having no decision. Like parties would agree to be like, after 2 weeks and talking about text and everything, they'll be like, nah, we'll go and talk about it next year. The document that we need to have the master plan to fix all these climate crises, if parties cannot agree and find consensus, they'll just be like, nah, we'll just say no decision and move over to the next year. So there are options where you could have fails, where they don't have text, or you don't necessarily get all the financial commitments you want. And wins would be like if you ask for trillions and you get trillions, or if, I would say if the Bellum action mechanism gets the gavel of approval.
I think when you said that, I can't even wrap my head around trillions. Like, that is, even because a billion is a lot. I don't think people realize how much money $1 billion is. So to say y'all were able to raise 300 billion, well, that's just beyond this world. So, I mean, so when you come together and for these initiatives to raise money, is this for now implementing certain agreements or actions to address the climate crisis?
Yeah, it goes exactly to what's called NCQG, net climate quantified goal, and those kind of things. So the money goes there, well, not directly, but it goes into funds that are for the implementation, for mitigation, for adaptation programs. But there are like instances where you have like sub funds. So like another fund that we want, what that is a thing is the loss and damage fund, which would be more relevant to the Caribbean, because that is the money you get after you lose your culture, after you lose your livelihoods, and that is what we're experiencing. But the other funding you work for is like adaptation funding, which is the money you would use to build resilience, so you don't have to need loss and damage funding.
Right. Okay, so coming back home a bit, when we're speaking about different climate policies here in Trinidad and Tobago, do you believe that we have a lot of gaps within our climate policies to say? I don't think we have much, if any at all.
I won't say, I definitely won't say we have gaps. I've been a part of the policy consultations. I've read a few of them. I would say maybe some of them could use updating, but we don't have gaps. Our biggest issue with everything is enforcement and like public awareness and people feeling comfortable to come forward, and like the pace of justice, or the pace of how we tackle when things may or may not be above board.
Right. So on that, what is the one action you think that could make the most meaningful impact locally if it's implemented seriously?
No pressure or anything, but I think you're getting into my biases a little bit. But there is this, okay, we're supposed to update our NDCs this year. We are supposed to. I don't know where it is. I think I can say this, it's supposed to be going before Parliament to be reviewed. So technically the best thing we can do right now is have some really ambitious NDCs, and like we're calling for NDCs that call for tripling renewable and like doubling energy efficiency, but we don't really have that. So just as like we can be spending that oil and gas money better on renewables and energy efficiency is what I would say.
Okay, understood. So just a little bit about you, Chanel. Tell us about your work and how youth-driven climate action is helping to reshape understanding and reshape communities around the world, and especially regionally.
Okay, well, regionally, I can say I belong to a lot of different like organizations. The most apparent one is EcoSeas Caribbean, and it's just different campaigning. Like we have deep sea mining, which is a very big issue, and the International Seabed Authority is right there in Jamaica. So it's a regional kind of big party meeting conference that happens in our region, but I don't think a lot of people in our region know about it. So I think that's a big one we could pay attention to, deep sea mining and the ISA in Jamaica. I haven't been particularly directly involved, but I know about it through a friend, Khadija Stewart. She runs Eco Vibes and EcoSeas Caribbean, so I can say that I feel. And I will say in terms of like internationally, a bigger accomplishment of mine was like over like 2023/2024, and a little bit kind of now. I was in the youth engagement group to the Climate Overshoot Commission, and which is a group that got together and this essentially started talking about what are we going to do now that we're kind of overshooting the 1.5, like what are the tools and processes we have at our disposal. And I think from that experience, we showed the power of youth advisory because we supported the commissioners coming out with their final initial report.
Wow. Before we wrap this morning, the conversation, I just want to, I hope you can answer I have two more questions. How optimistic are you about, these climate crises coming under control in terms of when we think, speaking about the 1.5 to stay alive, that whole aspect of it? How optimistic are you?
I'm foolishly optimistic because everything is telling me I shouldn't be optimistic, but I'm still optimistic because I have to be. And even so, you see, like, even with the COP process, even if you don't get the exact results you want, they've shown that because of these negotiations and because countries have been setting commitments, it isn't as bad as it was going to be. I mean, it's still bad, but it could have been worse. So there comes some level of finding hope in that when people get together, if they can, they could save themselves from absolutely worse. So I find hope in that. And well, I don't know. I think I come from the Caribbean. I come from Trinidad and Tobago. We are perpetual people of God is a Trinity. We don't take anything too seriously, and at the end of the day, we go into the beach and having a good time. So.
Right. So last question. Leave a message with our viewers, as well as the Caribbean. Something to give them, I don't want to say hope, but a clearer understanding of why they should take this climate crisis seriously and learn more about it.
The climate crisis is already knocking on your door and it's coming in your house whether or not you want it or not. The best thing you can do is learn about this intruder who's coming into your house, because this climate crisis wants to have a conversation with you, and if it's not a conversation, it's going to be something more cruel and more violent and more destructive. So have the climate conversation, because after a conversation, it just comes the horrible images we see on TV of people not having the hardest times in life and going back to survival.
Well, thank you so much, Chanel, for joining me on the program this morning. It was very much insightful, and we here at AM Prime will definitely continue to have these conversations, and hopefully, maybe after the conference, I believe it's supposed to, it's going up until the 21st.
Yeah.
Right. So after, and when things begin to unfold, if the implementation happens, then we can have you back on and just talk about what are some of the things that have been implemented, have been working. Yes, hopefully. Well, thank you so much. Do enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye. So we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, I have another very interesting conversation in store, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Win a brand new ride for Christmas in a 3-car raffle organized on behalf of Queen's Royal College.
Merry Christmas.
First prize is a luxurious, fully loaded Royal Ride Ford Ranger. Draw date Saturday, December 20th at the school. Tickets only $100. All proceeds for the further uplifting of the school. Tickets available from teachers, parents, alumni, and of the school. Also at islandetickets.com. Mott Liquor Palace, Dingle Mountain Main Road. GN Food Center, Siparia. Uncle Beto, Santa Cruz. Better Deal Supermarket, Cunupia, and Aranguez. Khan's Liquor, Dingle Mountain Main Road. Ramsing Sports, Chaguanas, and Cuba. Bobby's Bar, Curette. Mirage Supermarket, Sangre Grande. West B Supermarket, Dingle Mountain, and Tacarigua.
John's Supermarket, Upper Bonds Road.
Payless Hardware, Dingle Mountain Main Road. Dodge Roti, Pitti Valley. Mirage Westside Arima. Western Pharmacy next to St. James Police. For more info, call the college at 622-1671 or the hotline at 491-1802. Queen's Royal College 3-car raffle.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up, Doc isn't just a title. It's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
Remember waking up early just to catch your favorite cartoons? WESN brings back those magical mornings with Retro Saturdays.
Thus, the Powerpuff Girls were born!
Where the young at heart relive the fun. Join us every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, only on WESN, the content capital.
The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
Welcome back to AM Prime this morning. So we're taking local legacy and liquid gold with the rising prices on imported alcohol. More Trinidad and Tobago consumers are turning to homegrown options. So we're seeing this. Joining me this morning is Quentin Dyer and Janissa Williams. They're co-owners of Left Hand Investments Limited. This is the company behind Williams Wines. It's a brand that has been crafting locally inspired wines for many years, using fruits we know and love. Good morning, Quentin, and good morning, Janissa.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, morning. How are you doing? Thanks for having us.
Thanks for joining me on the program this morning. So, for viewers who may just be hearing about Williams Wines for the first time, just tell me a little bit about the company itself and about you two and how Williams Wines began.
Well, hi, good morning. Williams Wine began over 11 years now. I've been making wines, publicly, selling publicly 11 years now, but I grew up with my great-grandmom doing wines. So since I was like 3 years old, I used to sit down and be with her, selecting fruits and all these other things. So I grew up in doing that for many years. Mm-hmm. And then I decided to start a business. Mm-hmm. So that is how Williams Wine came about.
Okay. So why was it important for you to build a wine brand rooted in these local fruits and the local culture?
Well, we have so many local fruits. Every month is about 5 different fruits come out. So food's been wasting, so I decided to make a brand, make a business out of it. Mm-hmm. Because local wine back in the days was, popular. and then it died down, and everybody went to the foreign stuff. So I decided to, start doing local wines. And when we started, we had about 3 or 4 of us, and now it have many wine companies now, local wine companies.
Now, we've seen as we all know, the increase in duties on imported alcohol. Since then, have you noticed a change in customer behavior when it comes to the local wine?
The customer behavior had changed even before that. Because there are much more of us, and the fact that we are actually, for want of a better word, raising the actual standard of what is produced and the variety of it. We are getting more and more acceptance of the local wines, because people are now actually making them, aging them, testing them, packaging them properly, and marketing them, and so on. So even with the actual change in the pricing of alcohol, yes, there has been an uptick, but the uptick started maybe about, I would probably say maybe a year or so before that. Yeah.
Right. So you're saying that people are definitely more open to trying local wines. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to younger people getting into the wine culture, right? What are you seeing at tastings, at pop-ups, at various events about the younger people getting more involved?
Well, over the last few years, there has been a trend moving away from the harder liquor, for want of a better word. The younger people are getting more into the wines and cocktails and things like that. So, and because we do have a variety, and the actual flavors are familiar to them, for want of a better word, there is much more enthusiasm to actually sample and try, because all the time we will get young people coming to us and say, well, I am interested in wines, but I really don't know. So then we have to start to introduce them, talk to them about the different types, how to taste the wine, how to smell the wine, just give them a basic introduction. So there are more and more young people coming into it and understanding that there is a much wider variety of wines for them to choose from.
Yeah. So that face-to-face interaction and sampling is crucial.
Yes, very important.
Business.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, Williams Wines uses fruits like sorrel, guava, passion fruit to make the product. Now, what goes into turning this local produce into a great quality wine? What is the process like?
Well, first to begin, you have to look at the fruits, then, select it out, wash it, prepare it and put it to ferment, and then take at least 1.5 years to get a batch to market. So it's a long process, and you have to wait for when the wine ready. Sometimes you could say the wine coming out a couple of months, and when you go back to sample it, because you have to sample it to find out, well, if it's ready for market. And sometimes you'll be wrong. They have their mind off their own.
Now,
yes.
What is one misconception that you think people still have about locally made wine?
The actual taste of it. Once you leave the wine to mature and allow for the secondary fermentation and the maturation of the wine, you will be surprised at the complexity of the flavors in it, the actual smooth and the actual smoothness as well. So people don't necessarily understand that. So that is one of the things we have to, and we always try to get across to people. Allow the wine to age, because there is always going to be secondary fermentation after you finish the primary fermentation, and you have to allow it to age. Have to, yeah.
Right. And I've seen that the process is so long, and it's a lot of patience. and waiting around for the wine to be ready. You know, despite that, you've still managed to maintain and sustain the business for over a decade. What has kept you going?
People reaction to the wine, and when you go outside there and they tell you, you're tasting the guava, you're smelling the guava, the passion fruit, the pineapple, the public reaction, that's what keep me going.
Yeah. Now, you've mentioned that winemaking is tied to a family tradition. How much does legacy influence the way that the business, or the way that you run the business today?
Well, first to begin, I do it just how my great grandmom used to do it. Just the fruit, the water, the sugar, and fermentation, and the yeast. And that is how I make it. No set of chemicals, no purifiers, and all these set of things that people put in the wine. Because it have people that are allergic to those things. And when you meet them outside, they told you, I just get headaches when I drink wine and stuff like that. And I have a few customers that just buy wines directly from me because of that. Because when they have the wine, they don't get the headaches that
you get usually with wine. So with the growing interest in local wines, especially now, in a time when alcohol prices has increased and all of that, how is Williams Wine going to take advantage of this right now?
Well, one of the things we have done is to try to get into more retail spaces. So we have been approaching stores to be in the retail spaces to allow for a wider distribution, wider visibility. We have built out display units where the stores can have the display units, branded display units, where they can have all the wines together on the unit. So we have tried to move into the retail distribution spaces to as you say, to try to take advantage of the opening of the space.
Yeah. Are you at all concerned or worried that about maintaining the quality of your wines to meet the growing demand?
All the time. All the time. That is something we, for want of a better word, have heated discussions over all the time. Yeah, we try as much as possible to have a consistent quality across all our batches. To be able so that if, for instance, if you tried a wine 2 years ago, let's say 3 years ago, hopefully when you come back, the actual memory of the experience and the memory of the taste back then, you will get it today. If you try one of the batches from that we have for sale now. Yeah.
Right.
So we try to have that consistency all the time. Yes.
And try to get the fruits from the same farmer.
Yes.
Try to maintain that.
Yeah.
But it have a few things as be played, like the weather. If the weather is rainy, the fruit wouldn't be as sweet as if it's sunny. So it's all that you have to consider.
Right. Now, I've seen other local wine companies, talk about that the price. Local wine tends to be or would be more expensive. Well, that was before. Has the hike up in alcohol affect how you all price your product?
Not really. Yeah. Our product has consistently been at the particular price point we have it at. What interferes and what influences us is the raw material input, the packaging input. Those are things that we don't necessarily have control over. So at the end of the day, if the farmer raises his price, if my bottle goes up in price, if my labor goes up in price, unfortunately, based on the margins that I would like to have, unfortunately, sometimes you have no choice but to raise the price. But our price point has been where it's been over the last few years. Yeah.
Is it a lot more competitive now, seeing as alcohol prices went up?
Competitive in terms of?
In terms of if the prices are right there against each other, whether it be lower or higher. Or
you mean with regard to our wine as compared to the international wines?
Yes. Yeah.
We have always been around the same price point. Sometimes when the international companies do, for want of a better word, bulk buying discounts, sales, and so on, they will come down to the pricing we have. But consistently, we've been, I'll probably say, maybe 10-15% less than the international wines. Yeah.
What can you tell us about gaps that may still exist in retail access for these small batch local wine?
Gaps?
Yes.
The willingness to actually take a chance on the local wine producers. That is one of the biggest barriers for us, because as I said before, we are trying to get into more retail spaces.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't even open the door to you to have a conversation. From the time you indicate that you're a local wine producer, no, local wines can't sell here. Local wines that is too expensive. Local wines have no quality, and you get all these negatives that they throw at you. So, the biggest issue really is the willingness to allow you to at least put a foot in the door, to be part of the national conversation. Yeah. Retail stores, people only talk about supporting local. Many of them don't walk the walk.
Yeah. Right.
And if some of them take your product too, they put you down in the bottom shelf. So when you go to look for anything local, check the bottom shelf for local products.
Right. Now, let's say if these duties remain high, how do you see or do you think that the local wine industry would evolve in a positive direction from here on out?
Yeah.
Could become better.
Yes, actually, even before the hiking duties, we were going in a positive direction. Because as Janessa said, when we first started, we probably could have identified maybe 3 or 4 producers who were producing enough to go outside and sell them. No, I mean, I met one Sunday.
Right.
That I didn't know about. He has his packaging, proper packaging, labeling, and everything else, and so on. So the space is big enough for all of us. And as I always tell some of the other producers that I'm familiar with, I am not your competition.
Yeah.
Our competition are the international people. We have a tradition of winemaking here going back decades. We have forgotten it. We have left it aside. We have pushed it aside in preference to the international wines, and we have a duty now to bring it back and to bring it back to a particular standard, a particular volume that we could be proud of, and hopefully at some point in time start to export.
Right.
Put it outside there. Put it outside into the international space. Yeah.
Now, what was the reason behind that increase in popularity even before the hike in duties?
What's the reason? I think it's much more about visibility. It's much more about where the younger folks are much more curious about trying new things. They are much more open to it, because they don't have now. Even though for instance, our customer base is wide, anywhere between 20 to 25, all the way up to 50, 55, 60, because we have a wide customer base. The older folks, they more recognize the wine, are more willing to try the wine, because when they were younger, their parents and their grandparents used to make the wine, and they have an idea of how the local wines work. The younger folks who are not part of that tradition are much more open to experiment and experimentation. So they are the ones who will come, and as I said before, I want to try this, tell me about this, and so on. So that is where we are getting the largest movement within, I would say, maybe the 25 to 40 age group.
And they surprised to see a dong's wine. Some of them don't know what is a dong. Some, pineapple, guava, all these things, because the international wine based on grapes and stuff like that. But we have fruits we have ginger, we have citrus, we have everything. I do everything.
Yeah.
So they are surprised to see, all these different local flavors. So they're willing to try, and they are impressed. And some of them, when they buy, we have this little sample box that we sell, so you get 6 flavors. So they introduce, they introduce it to their friends, their family, So yes, so the local wine industry is picking up.
Yeah.
Well, we had to stay focused and try to get into these retail stores, because that is the only how you reach, a broad customer base.
Yeah, you have to get
so
the
that
people wanting to.
We decided to make these sample boxes. So when you buy it, it's 50 mLs, there's 6 of them. You go home, you try it, you call, you order, and stuff like that. So we are there, we trying.
What is the most popular flavor right now?
Well, that is we have the sorrel, which is, Christmas time, everybody into the sorrel and the ginger. Then the younger folks are the pineapple, the passion fruit, the guava. We have series, which is the rolling cherry and the West Indian cherry. That is right now, that is going for us for this season.
Right. Now, what would you say to someone who has never tried locally made wine, and maybe a bit nervous to try it for the first time?
So when you see Williams wines, they come up and you tell us, and we will give you the range. The range are from sweet, medium, and dry, and then you will see what range you are, and
and as well with even within the range, the actual taste variations are all around, all over. You will get citruses. The citrus wines are a little bit more acidic because of the citrus. Same thing with things like the pineapple and the West Indian cherry. The guava and the dongs, those are smoother because they do have that the higher level of acidity. So at the end of the day, we will introduce you. Don't be afraid to try it, because I am sure there is something you might like. Sure, positive. Yeah.
Now, where can viewers and find or access Williams wines, whether it be to purchase or just to check out what you'll have? Social media.
Our social media handles are Williams Wines TT. That's Facebook and Instagram. We are also available in some retail spaces. So we are in Peppercorns, which is in Ellerslie and West Mall. We are in Trebeni, which is a local store in Normandy Hotel. We are in the Cottage, which is in Radisson.
We in Food Hall.
We are in Food Hall. We are in Happy Gourmet in Val Park. We are in
Fats International.
Right, Fats International. That's a variety store in Arima. We are there as well. You can order directly from us or you could check those retail spaces. Or we are in Better Deal Supermarket, which is in Aranguez and Cunupia as well. We are in Green Hill, which is in St. Julian, which is on Princestown side.
And you could contact us.
Yeah, and contact us
and
directly.
We have a delivery service available nationwide. So my number is 757-8337. So you could call me and
and my number is 753-8124.
753-8124.
Yes.
And you can message your social media pages and
Yes.
order, etc.
Yes.
Reach out to us and we will get it to you.
Yeah. Now you're in a number of retail spaces, which I think is very impressive. So it gives persons a variety of options all over the country. So that's really good. Are you also in Tobago?
Oh gosh, yes. Ojiwawa, that's the name of the store. That's Ojiwawa in Tobago. Yes,
okay.
Yes. Sorry, Ojiwawa. That's the name of the store in Tobago. Yes.
No problem.
Yes,
well, to get in there, it's a lot of hard work. You have to be pushing. You have to be brave, and go outside there and ask a question. Would you like to take our wines in your store?
In your store.
And if you get a yes or no, you say thank you and you move on.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on the program this morning and just chatting with me about this. I think local wine is something that people need to be exposed to it more because it is a beautiful thing.
All right. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thanks for having us.
And all the best for the season.
Same to you.
Okay,
Same to you. Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so that brings us to the end of AM Prime this morning. I definitely want to encourage everybody, take a look at the local wines because, yes, as Mr. Quinton Dyer said just now, we are always talking about supporting local. We're always, encouraging persons to do it. So if you haven't already, just take a step and try it. It wouldn't hurt to try. We tend to get these international brand wines and drink it around this time of year especially. So maybe just try it once, support a local company. There are many local wine companies that I've seen. And I think if you just search it, you'll probably find it as well. But Williams Wines, check them out on social media. And I don't think you'll be disappointed. All right, so that brings us to the end. I will leave you with this. There's no passion to be found playing small in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. As a big quote by Nelson Mandela, and that is for you, just go finish out the rest of the day, think about it, meditate on it if you must, and I will see you back here again Monday morning. Please enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay safe, stay inspired, stay informed, and definitely don't go too far. We have Shawn Michael Small on the hour of 8 o'clock with Talking Point, so stay tuned for that as well. Bye-bye.
WESN.
Win a brain car raffle organized on behalf of Queens Royal College. You have a chance of winning a luxurious royal ride, Ford Ranger. Draw date Saturday, December 20th at the school. Tickets only $100. All proceeds for the further uplifting